seriously though, imagine how boring the world would be if everybody thought the same way, heard God the same way, did their hair the same way, dressed the same way, walked the same way, talked the same way, responded the same way in situations, and always said something. It would be very boring world. But thanks to neurodiversity, the way that God made us, which is unique and to be creative, right? So we are each unique and special and creative. Whether you want to believe it or not about yourself, you are. You are very unique, made in the perfect image and likeness of God. Now, does that mean you're going to respond the same way someone else responds when they maybe ask a question? No! Everyone responds differently, everyone engages differently. That's why it's important to educate people about neurodivergent behavior and what it is and what it isn't, right? If somebody asks for a pair of scissors to leave, the person hands them scissors. Ooh, I'm going to cut my hair. That might seem like not an appropriate response, but you did just offer the scissors. So, in that person's mind, you said it was okay I could cut my hair. Because you gave me the scissors. That's nice, the scissors. You gave me the scissors, so therefore I could cut my hair. That's a kind of logic that goes on in some neurodivergent brains. Not all neurodivergent brains, but some. That's an example of how the brain works. It's funny when a neurodivergent person, especially an adult neurodivergent person, be in that same situation, and the kid says, "Well, can you please have a scissor?" Politely, to me, that's a red flag that they know that they're gonna do something a little bit crazy from one neurodivergent to another. If they said, "May I please have a scissor?" First thing I would think as a fellow neurodivergent would be, what are you gonna do with that scissor? Now, if I was neurotypical, I might just think, oh, yeah, sure, have a scissor. Because the neurotypical brain would never expect for the person to just start cutting their hair. But the neurodivergent brain understands that that could be a possibility. It's very important that if you're neurotypical, you've got to understand how the neurodivergent brain works. If you're neurodivergent, you got to understand how the neurotypical brain works. Two different sides of the spectrum. Feeding forward to the point of this topic, I'm going to tell you a story about a kid asking for a pair of scissors and then deciding to cut their hair. I'm telling you this story because it happens every day. People misunderstand each other, right? When someone asks for something, and when they are given that something, that is like saying, I accept you as you are. Then if the person cuts the hair, and then you say, hey, wait, I want that thing back, that's like saying, I don't accept you anymore. I know, sounds crazy, but it's not. It's the logical brain. It's in the neurotypical stream, people have a frontal lobe, right? Everyone has a frontal lobe, but some of that neural networking works better in other people than neurodivergent. So neurotypical brain has a very, very high-functioning processing brain. They can process the information without many problems or hiccups along the way. And what the neurodivergent brain does is dissects the problems in different ways. Instead of just processing it in a linear fashion, they might process things in a very nonlinear fashion. You need to pinpoint what the most important thing is right in this moment. That's why I say to stay in that moment when they're asking, oh, may I please have a scissor? I say, well, I'm interested in that. Why don't you want a scissor right now? And then wait for the response, because you might be surprised. Then at least you'll get an answer, and whether it be the honest one or not, at least you'll get an answer. I mean, I guess it could be just dead silent, but let's say they do. Let's say they say, oh, then you can be their surrogate frontal lobe, and that's when you are going to process for them. as the neurotypical in this situation. Doesn't matter if you're actually a neurotypical or a neurodivergent. You're going to be the processing brain in this scenario, and then you're going to help them. So by doing that, you're helping them to move forward. Let's say you say, that's what I want. I'm going to cut my hair. Then you can say, oh, that's a good idea. And we will start the conversation.
That little monologue highlights the value of neurodiversity and in a world full of unique perspectives and behaviors, making life more vibrant, right? Less monotonous. It emphasizes that neurodivergent and neurotypical brains often process information and respond to situations differently, and leads to misunderstandings. What I wanted to really narrow down is the point of the example with the child with the scissors. I'm going to say it's a child and the teacher relationship, because that's really where we need to see huge leaps and bounds in this area. Now, I see it a lot where I work. I'm lucky. We have a really good school system, but not all school systems thrive. All right, the example of child asking for scissors, this is exactly what illustrates the logic. While the neurotypical person might assume the child needs the scissors for conventional use, the neurodivergent person can anticipate things before they happen. They can anticipate an unconventional response, such as cutting your hair all of a sudden, or maybe poking holes in materials or something like that, and then could be destructive. Since we're used to it as neurodivergent people who grew up with this, I don't even like to call it a disorder. It's just a different way of thinking, different way of functioning, different behavior patterns. Then we might be really excellent advocates for kids. We need so many advocates for parents. A lot of times parents get blamed for their kids' behavior. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with the diversity in their brain, the way their brains are functioning. The more people are aware of how their brains work and how other people's brains work, the more we can tackle these kind of issues head on. The research on ADHD and other neurodiverse conditions shows significant difference in brain function, particularly in the frontal lobe, which is responsible for the executive function, decision-making, impulse control, problem-solving. This is where I was saying your neurotypical individuals' pathway is like straight and narrow. It's just like, for them, this is how you do it. It's those people that, like, when they're in 6th grade, they know they want to be a doctor, and so they follow their dream and continue that path and get straight A's and continue, and then they're a doctor, and being able to have that functionality to set your mind to it and literally do it. And that's right. For me, that's mind-boggling. That's amazing. Whereas people that are on the neurodivergent spectrum have so many things running through their mind, so many different possibilities that we can get trapped in one end of the spectrum. It might be on one idea. We might get trapped in one direction going the wrong way for 5 years, 2 months, depending on the situation, right? So we can end up getting hyperfixated on the wrong direction. Whether you want to say right or wrong, but just not the direction that would lead to success in life. Like, and I'm talking about, when I say success, like the American dream type of capitalist success, like making money, getting a job, got a wife, got kids, all that normal life. That's not to say that life is bad, or this. We're not comparing or judging the different brains. We're just looking at the differences and observing them, my perspective. Food here, but I just really wanted to just come on here quickly and give some information. Another thing I wanted to say, psychological perspective, the difference between cognitive processing styles between neurotypical and neurodivergent individuals stem from various strategies in attention regulation and executive functioning. Strategies in attention regulation and executive functioning, right? So neurodivergent individuals, particularly those with ADHD, may experience a heightened sensitivity to context, leading them to interpret social exchanges in unique ways. For example, the act of providing scissors could be perceived as a tactic for approval, to use them in any manner, right? Use the scissors in any manner possible, reflecting slightly different form of situational logic, right? This aligns with newer research findings suggesting that ADHD involves more flexible thinking, but also higher susceptibility to impulsivity and misinterpreting social norms. So that scissor illustration covers both of those. Ultimately, understanding these can improve interactions between neurotypical and neurodivergent people. Whether it's a parent and child, a teacher and a student, a husband and wife, relationship doesn't matter. Emphasizing the need for neurotypicals to act as a surrogate frontal lobe to help guide and scaffold this approach can help bridge the gap in social understanding, enabling a collaborative effort towards navigating daily life situations.